share in either wisdom, story, or logic. And it's clearly amazing to hear all the differing missing links discovered by people unique to their own journeys and in how they have come to discover them. Together, we can help to build a bigger picture for a better future, for a brighter tomorrow. Let's stand united. Let's remove the veils and let's create a new world together. Are you that missing link? Join Jesse Hale on the Missing Link Talk Show as he helps to unveil the mystery through the unique wisdom and store of others.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody here back to the Missing Link. Today we're excited to talk to a fellow Calgarian, someone who's got some, kind of great views on what's going on in the world, not afraid to speak up about what he feels. Randall Kaiser, how are you today, brother?
Wonderful, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm not sure if you know that, but I'm a fellow Calgarian, so born and raised, and I saw you speaking out, against all the stuff that's going on, and kind of hitting the nail right on the head. So I thought, I'd want to reach out to you and see, if you'd come here on the Missing Link. So we're definitely happy to have you here. So maybe you can start off with telling us about yourself, who you are, about your journey, and how you came to be able to speak so freely about some of the insanity that we're all experiencing.
Well, I'm an ever-evolving creature, like we all need to be. We're perfect, moving toward completion, and that involves evolution on a creative, conscious level. I'll call it. We're basically a mammal with this co-creative capacity, and it's simple to me. I'm a really simple guy. I don't like to. I think in terms of logic more than mystical, and I don't argue with anybody. I come from a place of love rather than sympathy or charity or anything like that. Do I have respect for people? Of course, all of them. Like, I'm a Christ-conscious being. Jesus Christ is my fucking hero. I mean, there's nobody on earth that I saw walking around sorry, I didn't see him yet. But, anybody that I've seen that tells the story more simple than the words of Jesus Christ, So I think in terms of that, logic, logos, Christos, that's all one word basically to me. So that man was very conscious, and he was very simple and very natural, knew what God's law was, and God's law is simply do no harm and quit fucking with people's minds. Excuse my language. I guess we're allowed to swear, are we?
Yeah, this isn't a G-rated show, so you just speak your mind and however freely you want to. Could you maybe shake your mic? There's a little bit of static coming from your mic that we hear. I'm not sure what that static is.
Is that better? I had a fan on.
No, it's for some reason there's just a little bit of static going on, and Diane says the audio is a little bit jumpy. Is that just for Randall? Is that for me as well there, Diane? Let's hear you.
Me?
Yeah.
Diane.
you, brother.
Okay. Is it better now or?
No, for some reason the audio is just a little bit, the audio has a little bit of a crackle to it.
Oh, should we keep going, or what do you think? You want to try and do something with it?
But now is fine. She says, okay, she says it's fine now. So, okay, perfect.
We're good.
Yeah, I still hear the crackle, but it's still, I can still hear you clearly. It's just a little bit of crackle that goes with it. So I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, let's just keep going.
Snap, crackle, pop. Yeah, well, I don't know what else. You asked me, because I'll talk about anything. I don't give a shit. I got an open book. And I mean, my main thing is the banking world, right? And well beyond this corporate level looniverse, as I call it, where, even people like Trump. And I mean, I'll gain an audience and we'll get 40,000 or 80,000 views on, what's her name, Janine's channel. Or if I support the idea of the U.S. Treasury and Trump, then I, boom, get a whole bunch of views. And as soon as I say, well, could anybody please ask Trump like the truth about the credit system? Then poof, I'm back down to 200 views again. You know, like, come on, people. Like, Jesus Christ, the system is so rigged and so, you know, corporate. Okay, and he's involved in it, and he's, you know, whether it's alternative media or mainstream media, we're there looking for that hope, looking for that savior and everything, instead of just thinking logically, going inside to God, where God is, inside you, inside me, inside every one of us, and thinking in terms of simple logic, you know, and of course love, you know, which is the magic and the, you know, where the miracles happen. And that's my simplicity to start it off, brother. But you fire away and I'll.
Sure. So, you know, talking about going within and looking, you know, the God is within inside of all of us. Why do you think there's people out there attacking those that are trying to look within, that are trying to meditate, that are trying to find the energy to listen to the universe? And, you know, there's people out there that are trying to thrash even the people speaking out of against the agenda just because they want to meditate. It's kind of sounds rather insane to me.
Well, it is, and it's anything to keep the separation and the people fighting with each other is going to get encouraged on the media. So no matter what media, whether it's alternative, especially alternative lately, like if you're talking about meditation, you're not going to see that on the mainstream media. So when you go into alternative media, and if there are, like, I don't know what you're saying, I don't pay attention to that, but if there are people attacking meditators or, you know, conscious people that are going within, well, that's going to get jammed up on the alternative media to keep people fighting, because it doesn't matter what we do. As soon as the media latches on to a story that is, you know, dualistic in thinking, you know, or duality mentality, where there's potential for people to argue, blow that one up, you know, instead of just the oneness that we are, the singularity that we're striving for, that oneness, that God within me that's within you.
So what I tell people is only you can separate yourself from yourself, and they're using every possible tactic to keep people separated, divided, angry at each other. Oh no, he must be this and he must be that because, you know, he doesn't think the same as I do. But we're not all supposed to think the exact same way. That's what, you know, the gift of life is, to experience and be able to, you know, feel and think any way you feel, as long as you're not harming anyone else directly. Then, you know, have fun and enjoy what you want to enjoy while you're here. But a lot of people don't, you know, live like that. They just follow trends, and they follow what the media tells them.
Totally, brother. I mean, you know, they say 60,000 thoughts through this computer a day, and I mean, I don't doubt it. You know, like it's amazing how the mind of the human being works. But when you connect it to the heart, which is where that oneness comes in, and that, you know, that love from within, then you can simplify those thoughts and not make them so separate. Join the one thing that does need to be joined, and that's the masculine and feminine within, which are very unique, you know, in structure. And whether that's in the physical being, the animal or the mammal, or within the mind of the human being, for, you know, alpha versus omega versus sigma, you know, like you got into that sigma mode, and away you go, like that. And I know, like myself, wearing a hat, and I'm, you know, rough looking kind of a character, I've got no fucking baby face on me or anything, and I come across as that more of an alpha male. I'm Aries, for Christ's sake, on top of it. So, you know, it's been hard on people's minds to listen to this, you know, cowboy. And I like that because it covers up this fucking cue ball, you know, like I like to have that image. I want to be a masculine male, you know, I love it. It's just a great role to play. But for me to talk in terms of love and you know, caring, and I don't like the word compassion because it uses the word passion, which is completely one of those words that is, you know, just like love. So not worse than love. Compassion, because it originally meant suffering, and then intense desire lately, you know, like, God, I don't like that word. So I'll use the word kindness, or especially love. I love the word love. And that's when miracles happen. It's just, I don't know. I'm going on a little bit, but
No, that's what we're here, just to hear you. You go on as much as you want. That's, where this show is here about getting to know you better. And, you're right, because love is the most powerful force in the universe. And it seems like they want to destroy it, deflect it, break up the family unit, do everything that they can, because I think it's the only thing in the universe that they haven't been able to control. So they want to split it into zillions of pieces to keep people just trying to find that love that's already inside each and every single person.
and the hard part of that to hear, Jesse, is, and I don't, not judging you for it, is to use the word they, because it's us. There's no them anymore. It's just us doing it to ourselves now, because we've found ways to capitalize on it in the capitalist society. And I don't believe there's a bad guy out there anymore. And that's another thing that gets me turfed down to the bottom of the freaking, like channel or whatever, like, what are you talking about? Like, what about Biden? Well, Biden's just doing whatever. Like, he's just a fucking retard. And I mean, I think he believes what he's doing, just like Trudeau. I think he actually believes that he's saving humanity. That's what I think. And I love him for it, because he's exposing the insanity of government, or mind control. Govern the mind. We all know that one by now. It's those people are just exposing that insanity of government, which to me is the problem. Okay, it's not the people in government, because they're mind fucked all themselves. They've been indoctrinated, or MK Ultra, or whatever language you want to put on it, themselves. So government itself is the problem, being the middleman between us and our destiny, which is divine or dynastic activation, natural activation, DNA. Like, I just said that too many things there. Divine natural activation, DNA. And that, when we think that way, and then bring in the logic, and of course, meditation is extremely important. I find fasting to be extremely important too, because I clear my mind of, or my body of the activity of digestion. So then my mind can focus. And that's the biggest challenge that humans have, is focus. And meditation brings that into your life. You just sit and try to just focus on something, like your breath. You can't focus on nothing, because your mind won't let you, like, it's not going to happen. But try your breath, or, something like that. And then, stay out of the external stuff for a little while, and miracles happen in that. There's no doubt.
Plus, fasting, helps to expel all the toxins that, the environmental toxins, the food toxins, all the toxins we're bombarded with every single day. And, people are like, oh, let me take a flu shot so I don't get sick. But it's actually good when you get sick. And if you stop your body's natural ability to get sick, then you're stopping yourself from expelling the toxins. And then you get a toxic overload. And then we get, all these other problems that happen inside of the body. So really, the medical mafia has become insane. And it seems like, they want to take, ownership of each and every single one of our bodies, and try to take our control of our souls.
Well, and once again, is it they that's doing it? Like, we're still choosing it, and the people are still choosing to get something put into their systems, because they've been indoctrinated, or indoctrinated themselves into thinking that they can't heal themselves. Nobody's going to listen to me when I say, well, just go fast once a month. Do it on your moon cycle. Do it whenever, 3-4 days. Just don't eat anything. Just drink water. How many people are going to hear me and do that? How many? But that is simply the best way to clean the parasites. It's mostly parasites, brother, too. It's not so much, toxins. We've got capability, these beautiful, miraculous bodies to eliminate toxins through our lymphatic system, and everything else. Like, it's just an amazing piece of equipment that we have. But the parasites are definitely, something that we can manage with fasting. It's quite simple.
And when you say there's no they, but let's delve a little deeper into that, because you got people like the World Economic Forum that wants to, you to be happy owning nothing while they take control over the autonomy. Like, there is a they of people that are looking to control others. It is us that relinquish that power to them. We truly have the power, but there is an entity, there is a body of, psychopathic parasites, I call them, that are, actually actively looking to control you.
Wow. That is the ultimate alternative media design right now, is to put that out there, the WEF, World Economic Forum, and go after these guys in Geneva. And it used to be called the Bilderberg Group, and then the Davos Group and stuff like that. But to me, I love them, like every one of them, because they're so stupid. And if you want to follow that stupidity, what the hell are you doing? It's where I draw the line with sympathy. Like, I have like ultimate love for children, okay? Ultimate love for children. And if people would get their minds back to that childhood state, we'd be off to the races. But in the midst of that, we as adults, go after these thems, and we create in our own mind the victim perpetrator story, right? The good guy, bad guy. And now the ultimate bad guy in most media is this World Economic Forum. But I mean, God, all you need is like 3 seconds to look at them, or do one little tiny bit of research on them on the alternative media somewhere, or even just watch them on mainstream media, and you go, what the fuck is that? Like, seriously, I'm going to follow something that is that insane, or that, like Joe Biden or Bill Gates, or why, or Elon Musk? Like, seriously, just look at them for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and bring your logical mind into it and say, yeah, he went to outer space. How the fuck do you, like, really? Like, it just boggles my mind that people can get drawn into stories and then have an excuse to be the victim. We're not victims. We victimize ourselves by following stories like that. Those guys are just, to me, I want to hug every one of them and say, oh my God, you stupid fucker. I'm so happy that you're exposing your insanity, that you're exposing your moronic brain, your moronic thinking to the rest of the world. Thank you for playing that part. I love you. That's it. And
Now,
does that sound arrogant? Because that's what I get a lot, okay? Is that, oh, you fucking know it all. You think you're above everybody? Yeah, and so are you. That's the problem. People want to fucking stop and then, make me into the fucking arrogant one. All I'm talking about is logic. I'm not fucking talking about blame or anger or anything. It's just love. And love yourself, ultimately. Have the highest esteem for yourself that you can get.
Yeah, it doesn't sound arrogant to me at all. And it's actually beautiful to be able to have that type of, attitude that, there's people that are really trying to destroy things and hurt people. Look at all the children that are being hurt by, these injections and different things, but to be able to still, give them love. And that takes a very, very lots of strength to be able to have that, and just try to shake them out of their silliness of what they're actually doing.
The children thing is it's their parents. Like, it's that simple. We can't have pity on the children without having pity on the parents, without having pity on what the hell they're thinking, So that's where the love comes in, to me, is just, layer it with love instead of any fear or pity or mercy or whatever that kind of language. Sympathy, that's the one that I don't like, but that's the one that I'm talking about more than anything. And then we can see how we can correct it all just with love. And, of course, intelligence and knowledge that I'm going to speak to before the show ends, as far as, the ultimate abundant story. Okay. Because everything is abundant. There's no lack. That is, limitation and lack are spelled out in the words. And I mean, I study words. I love words because it's just all right in front of you, Limit is a government corporate word and nothing but. There's nothing that's limited unless you think in government terms. And government is a limited corporation, just like they want you to be as a person, as a, put your mark of the beast on. People talk about mark of the beast. What the hell do you think that is? That's your consent. That's your signature. Sig being fallen from nature. I do videos about this all the time. I get 20, 30 views. What the fuck are you talking about, Kaiser? It's this. That's the mark of the beast. Come on. It's your mark. You miss the mark. Miss the mark is sin. Okay. That's the Aramaic definition of sin. Missing the mark. So your mark, you mark on something, you put your X on it, your signature, and that's your consent. And it gets used by the government, right? So simple. Birth certificates, derivatives, you name it. It's all the same. Mark of the beast. We got him. Did we lose?
No, there's just some kind of a comment that came as the missing link, and it says supporting our local communities is essential. We are gifting 44 Bitcoin bonus to the community. And it says it's coming from me, the missing link, and it's somebody, I don't know how they would have hacked into that, but that's not I have to block. I don't know how it is. I blocked the user. Maybe they just called themselves the missing link. I have no idea, but I didn't put that comment there. So anybody seeing that, that's not the missing link. It was saying 3 Bitcoin to the deposit address below and reward with 3 times what you sent instantly to your wallet. So yeah, that's not, so anybody seeing that message, that's not, me or anybody. That's the first time I ever seen somebody comment as me. It says it's commenting as the missing link, and then my little picture is there. And then so I just blocked myself. So I don't know how that's gonna work when I did that, but that's very strange. So pardon me, I just had to make people aware that that's a spam scam.
Cool. Yeah, amazing, eh? How fast that people can catch on. And I mean, algorithms from what we're saying right now can bring these scammers into the game, like they're just trying to manipulate situations. But it's humans. We got that in our nature. Like capitalism has driven it into our blood almost, Let's take advantage of this situation.
So what have you done with your life? Like what's been Randall's journey, throughout his life here?
Well, I spent most of my life on a ranch. Like I had my own place and worked on my own most of the time. Hired some people once in a while, but I did well. Like at the end, I had a couple of wives, divorces that settled and were in good shape. Let's just put it that way. And then the last time around, it was more attempts to get bigger and, take more chances in the world of natural food, okay? And in particular, natural beef. And we went to town. Like I was traveling around the world, getting memorandums of understanding, memorandums of agreement, potential contracts, in other words, and other stuff from overseas customers, and spent a lot of money and time and energy, and then got denied by the banks numerous times, and just learned how insanely corrupt and the government system is at that globalist agenda level, right? To keep us into one narrative. And again, when I say that, it might sound to most that I'm saying they're the bad guys. No, they actually believe that their narrative will save humanity. They actually think that that's the only way that we can do this, right? So that's what they're doing. And they think that they're benevolent by doing that. So, like, I'm not calling them bad guys. And we've made a lot of headway in the, society and in culture due to this agenda, this globalist agenda. I mean, God, you walk around our city, Jesse, and it's just stunning. Like, we've got one of the most beautiful cities in the world, if not the most beautiful city in the world, right here where we live. So how can we say that was all built by bad guys, because that was all built still on the corporate agenda, the whole credit system, right? So, I'm going to lead into now from how I went from that banking, or from that in commercial agricultural business into banking. And that was starting to realize what I just said. How in the hell did we build this beautiful city and these, beautiful infrastructure and still, sustain a comfortable life here in Canada? My God, I mean, when I'll tell a little bit quickly about my first taste of poverty was when I was actually starting in the banking business. And I mean, we see people on the streets here in Calgary, don't get me wrong, and most of them choose to be there because they're choosing their addiction, and I'm just saying it openly. I love every one of them and I want them to stop, but you can't force them to stop when fentanyl and fucking pot and booze is available at the drop of the hat. I mean, they're just bought into it. But as far as it being a poverty situation here in Calgary, there's nothing like that, but first day I dropped into the Philippines and into Manila, it was dark, got there. And this was when I started my banking career and learning about the unlimited abundance of, no matter what you want to talk about, gold, silver, precious diamonds, metals, stones, you name it, or credit. It's all abundant and unlimited. But my first adventure there, I guess you could call it, was dropping into what they call Quezon City in the heart of Manila, where I know under the city square, or the circle, it's a big circle with a obelisk in the center. There's caves under there full of stuff that, it's just protected so well because of that heavily, densely populated, poverty-stricken area. How the hell are you going to take it? Are you going to come in there and bomb it and kill all the people and then take it, or what? How are you going to do it? It's very, very well protected just because of that. When I got there, I woke up the next morning. It was dark when we arrived, so the next morning got out to take a look around on the street. Little girl gets up off of her cardboard box bed, dirty, filthy face, little yellow dress. I can still picture her if I close my eyes, and hair all matted, begging me for some money. And I said, okay, Kaiser, as benevolent as I believe my projects were in the natural food industry, we got to do something bigger than that. We got to correct this monetary system. So I've been in it ever since. And I've learned so much that my language just doesn't resonate with anybody. I can't, Charlie Ward and I try to talk and it's different language. He's got a different story than mine. And you name it. Anybody that talks money doesn't seem to be in that same specific, unique spark of the divine place as mine. And I'm okay with that. And I'll keep telling the story, and hopefully some people catch on and get a little bit out of it and do a little bit more research, whatever. But, simply put, there is, massive hordes from various civilizations over the thousands, maybe millions of years. We don't know history, that we've existed on this flat plane of existence, and we can't get out. Project Fishbowl proved it. Oh, bounce off of that thing up there and back you come again. You're not going to some other bloody place unless you're outside of what we know of as Earth, right? So there could be more land beyond the Arctic Circle or Antarctic Circle, or there could even be more islands that we just aren't ever told about out in the ocean somewhere, and just keep them off the map. Don't tell them about that, Lemuria. Oh, it might still exist in my world. I mean, north of New Zealand somewhere. Who knows? oceans are vast. So it's just that idea that there's so much abundance already mined and sitting all over the world. We call it off ledger in the banking system, but there's also, or historic assets, people call it global assets, and all kinds of different language for it. But there's also hordes of it that aren't even anywhere near the banking system yet, even in the off ledger accounts, just sitting. Ran into that in Jakarta. I asked one guy, met 4 royal family members, and we're going to eventually twist into the royal family story at the end of this interview today. But met with 4 families. Guy that was with me, a high-level banker from Indonesia, the only one that spoke English in the whole place, and his English was limited. And they liked me because I was smiling all the time and telling good stories and stuff. And one guy goes out to his car, brings in this big honking ring, puts it on my finger, and I kind of thought it was probably fake, and it ended up being shoddy kind of stuff, but still nice looking piece of equipment, But I said to him, "Oh, how much do you have? Like, what have you got? Your family." And so my friend asked him through translation. He says, "Well, he's got about 600 ton. It's just stored a little ways from here, not very far. 600 ton of, treasures, precious metals and stones and stuff. And none of that being in the banking system at all. And our purpose was to try to bring a measurement of that, an assay of some kind, and say, okay, if there's 600 ton, like, let's just make sure we got lots of room to play here and say that's worth, a couple $1 billion or whatever, like I'm just throwing numbers around now. Like I'm not going to pin it down, or there's no secrets, but it's just a lot of value, right? So I said, our purpose was to bring what they call a safekeeping receipt or a certificate proving by a third party that they have that, bring it into the bank, don't have to move the asset at all, and then open up a credit line based on it. We worked on that one for quite a while. And I've worked in a number of projects like that over the years. But off ledger in the bank accounts, a lot of those are linked to what we'll call royal families, okay? And the royal families is who I deal with now. And it's no secret that they exist. I mean, the royal family of Britain is the most popular, even though they're Prussians, they're not English or anything like that, And but there's, some of the other popular ones are the Monaco or, the Arabian Arab king or whatever, those kind of family members, the Spanish royal family, that kind of stuff. But most of them went behind the scenes during and after World War I because, they were going to get butchered otherwise, like Nicky Romanoff. Like, the story is quite simple. We had empires and kingdoms prior to World War I, and then all of a sudden it was the United States of America nation or the country of Canada. Where did that switch happen? Right there, World War II. And they all kind of went behind these governments and expected the governments, or hoped that the governments would treat the people with respect. And to a certain extent they did. We started to build communities or, organizations like we have here in Canada where there is not much poverty. So I'm not saying it was all a bad agenda once again, but that is the simple truth. We moved from kingdoms to these so-called nations, and then, as Anna von Reitz calls it, hired these corporations to run it. And that's all any of them are. Like, Donald Trump's administration versus Joe Biden's administration, those are corporations that are running the show with CEOs, And then they kind of pretend that we vote them in as a sovereign, democracy. Come on. That's old bullshit stories. That was a long rant, buddy.
No, that's awesome. Do you think that they, cheat on these elections?
Of course. I mean, every single election has been rigged, and they always plan who's going to be in there. It's these governments are, and I'm not saying that that's a good or bad thing. Once again, like, I don't want to get trapped into the good guy bad guy role on any of these interviews anymore. I've had enough of them where I kind of get trapped, and then, oh yeah, he's the Trump guy. Ah, come on, like, I just want to tell it like it is, and say to everyone that's out there, be sovereign. Think in terms of your own sovereignty, because sovereignty is the word I use, about where you put yourself above the government. And it is layers. I don't care what anybody says about pyramid systems or whatever. You got to get yourself above government. Put that government on your shoulders right here. This is the government, okay? Self-government. And self-government is sovereignty. So does that mean I fight anything? No, you got to work with it. If you don't, you'll end up in jail. Or, you get into the victim perpetrator situation. So I still function with these governments, knowing that they're complete, utter nonsense. But you still got to deal with it, Because in the physical reality, what else are you going to do, Become a guru and get money from other people? That's turned into capitalism too, The people, and I'm not blaming them for it, they become saviors for somebody and they live off of it. Simply that.
What kind of advice do you have for people that want to become sovereign?
Oh, it's so much about your own thinking. And if you want to add paperwork to it or something, there's lots of places. Like Anna von Reitz is one of my good friends, and she's got all kinds of language and documentation that talks about it. She uses different words like national or national assemblies and stuff. I don't know if she uses the word sovereignty as much. I deal with my own organization is called the First Republic Registrar Foundation. And when you open that page, you're going to see connections to royal family members and high-level banking, Bauer, Rothschild, like it's that's it, and in that we talk in terms of working with and not against. That's one of the key logos. But again, it spells out your sovereignty at the level of legal jurisdiction, common law jurisdiction, as well as God's law, which is the divine natural activation, where meditation and the more mystical aspect of life comes in, possibly, unless you simplify that as well and just deal with the simple Christos Logos logic.
So how do you tap into, like economically into some of this banking and, like you said, a little bit of an example, but what if someone doesn't have a lot of capital, but they want to, be able to utilize some of these methods that, these other people that clearly, like maybe like yourself, was able to figure out how to use?
Well, I haven't used it yet. Like we're correcting the situation by bringing the truth to these off-ledger asset-backed accounts, and that's the ones that I work with personally. Have we cashed out yet? No. But as soon as I stop believing in it, then my story goes some other direction, So there's nothing I can do but continue to do it and know that with the right energy, with consciousness, with love, we will succeed. And there's, no doubt in my mind that we will. And when I say we, there's I'm dealing with administrators. I don't want to call it government people because I like the word administrators. I'm dealing with bankers, and I'm dealing with royal family asset holders, keepers, okay? They don't use the word owner very often. It's mostly just either managing director of a common law pure trust or a keeper in terms of people that aren't really supposed to have it versus a holder who is supposed to have it versus an owner, which is get the fuck out of my way. It all belongs to God. So don't talk in terms of ownership to me. I don't want to ever even hear that word. when people get to that space, or go to that level. So, simply put, we work within all levels of the system, very little in the legal jurisdiction because it's just complete insanity, but a fair bit in the common law jurisdiction, which, allowed for and still allows for, I'd rather call it sovereign money manifestation. They like to use the word sovereign money creation, but when I think of creation, I think of God, which is all. So if you're going to create money, then give it to all and share. Don't just, say that this one gets it, that one doesn't. But that's the way the globalist agenda has been manifesting funds, is basically through this sovereign, people at the common law level who understand and comprehend their authority, their authentic autograph. See, I use those words because it's all about AU. And this is the little mind fuckery that they've done to us, right? Is to say to us, well, yeah, it used to be backed by gold and silver, and now it's backed by authorized autographs from an authentic individual, AU, on an agreement, AG, silver. Such simple stuff. And I mean, and, people will hear me say that, and then a day later, they forget what I said, but it's that simple. It's just the credit system is simply that. When I first got into banking and I started learning from Bauer Rothschild, he said, well, you need a message. Okay, you set this up. You find two banks that will agree, and all you need is the message from one to the other, and they'll start a credit line. I said, well, what do you mean? And he taught me a little bit more. He was a little frustrated with me because I was just learning, but because I have no indoctrination in the banking world, I was able to absorb very quickly. So I said, okay. And I put the first deal together. And I said, while I was doing it, I said, so the authorization and the agreement itself, the message, okay, is all there is. And there's nothing to back it. No gold, no silver, no money from your families, none of that stuff. So no, it's a standalone credit instrument. Gets lodged in the receiving bank. Okay, so there's a sender of the message and a receiver of the message. The sender of the message, puts it on a computer coded Swift message, okay, goes to the receiver. The receiver accepts it. There's a translation back saying, yes, I got it. Thank you very much. That message, that piece of paper gets printed, stands alone in the bank as a credit facility. That's all they need. And I said, that's it? He said, well, it's got the authority on it. It's got the autograph on it. It's got the authorization on it. What else do you want? It's the gold. He laughed. And I said, holy fuck, man. Like, seriously? And then the bankers, because the way I talk and I'm open about everything, they hazed me. And they owed me $1.5 million. They said, get lost. I said, okay, fuck you. I'm going to keep talking about it on the fucking web all I want. And they laugh at me because they'll say to me, yeah, who the hell's going to believe you anyway? And nobody does. They're going to run over to Charlie Ward's story or somebody else that's telling stories about Trump or something like that. Nobody listens to me, but I'm telling you the truth. That's all it's about. Just like your birth certificate, your signature once again on there. But see, we're going now. Signature comes from the dummy, right? Authorized autograph comes from the sovereign who knows what the hell he's doing. Okay, so the dummy puts his signature on something. That's the mark of the beast. They just take that, create bonds, $325 billion in new debt here in Canada. How did they manifest that? With bonds based on the consent of the dummies, the signature, the sig nature, the drop, the fallen from mark of the beast. And how many of these new contracts, these new derivatives, okay? Derivative is the word that they use in the stock markets. The economists talk about the derivative market. What the hell is a derivative? It's derived from the mark of the beast, okay? Copies of the authentic autograph. It's all so simple to me, and it's simple to, my language is simple, but people need to hear it a couple times to grasp it. I'm not talking in terms of legalese babble, you know? The stuff that I'm saying is very simple words, but it's hard for people to grasp because of the indoctrination.
Does each person's birth certificate have kind of like a trust to it? Is there a trust account to each one? Because I know there's lots of talks that, you know, it's traded, each person is traded in the capital letters on the stock market, and that every single person is essentially has a trust of millions of dollars. And if you can figure out how to access your own trust, then, you know, you can be essentially, when you have a electricity bill, you just sign it in, you know, or your signature or whatever, your authorized autograph, you know, and then that takes care of the trust actually pays for, you know, these bills, that you don't actually have to pay for this stuff if you figure out how to do it correctly.
Yeah, and Jesse, I started there. Remember at the beginning of our interview today, I said I'm evolving, right? So I learned that stuff too. Did I take advantage of it? I played with it a little bit here and there. And then when I started to get into the mindset of, well, do I want to focus my energy on getting something for me out of the credit system, which really doesn't make any sense to me in the first place, and it doesn't belong to me. I don't think I've got $1 billion worth of value in a credit system. Then should I stay there or should I go beyond it? And I chose to go beyond it. And you know, learning the simple ways to get out of it, for instance, okay? And the way that I speak to people is like, you know, these liars, I call them, you know, liars with the W in there. These guys, they always use the mark of the beast, but they put without prejudice, right? So they're off the hook. Like they can't use their autograph to manifest credit and play the games in the stock market, like you said. So at the common law level, there is a way for us to do that, and that is simply UCC, U, or capital U, capital C, small c, sorry, capital U, capital C, small c, 1-308. And that's at the common law level, universal commercial code level. That is getting you off the hook for this ridiculous credit debit system where they talk in terms of debt. I wrote a book with my ghostwriter called The Illusion of Debt. We've sold, you know, 150 copies or something. Like, nobody wants to read that. What do you mean? What are you talking about? Well, read the book. It's a very simple little book, you know. It's on Amazon. But it's, you know, who the hell are you in debt to? And even if you fall into this mark of the beast thing, you know, and they call it credit, and they can, somebody figures out how to get that credit, right? And like you said, pays their bills or buys a motorhome like Heather Giraffe Chusi and her friend Randall that got thrown in jail, both of them. You know, like anybody that gets to that level in the banking or in that legal system, they usually catch up to them. You know, like, you're not going to get away with it for too long because it's, or you sign an NDA and you get a black card, but they say, get lost, you know, don't talk about it with anybody or anything like that. I mean, it's all games, eh? But it's, I don't know. Like I just said to myself, like, do I want to stay there or do I want to figure out how to really get some, you know, abundance flowing? And I like to use the word, and Lee Mudway's a really good friend of mine. Him, and he's kind of latched onto the GPMS program these days, and I support those guys. They're lovely.
Yeah, we've had Lee Mudway and Rick Jewers here on The Missing Link.
Yeah, good guys. And I mean, I have nothing negative to say to them. The only thing I say is that they don't have really a plan. And they're saying, well, humanity will have a plan when enough of us get together. And I'm okay with that. Like, just let it go then. You know, I'm not going to argue either way. But it takes more digging and more, I don't know, effort, I'm going to say, to go inside the system as it exists with these off-ledger accounts and think about the massive amounts of of treasure that are, hidden away or whatever. It takes more to go in there than to just say, in a very beautiful manner, if we all get in the same headspace, we can change it all at once. And I'm not arguing with them. That's the truth too, So there's so many truths, and I love both of them to pieces. It's just that, you got to pick a spot somewhere and run with it, right? And I've chosen to run with the idea that most people think in terms of, like, on this earth, the story of Jesus Christ, number one, is very popular, very, easy to grasp. He's a compassionate, loving, man. I don't think he hung up on some cross and died myself, but, the rest of the story I love. And then the natural part about him being, an ancestor of some of these royal family members, that was cool for me. I like that part. So I thought, okay, that's a good place for me to go as far as, an organized spiritual aspect of my life. And then on the monetary side, it was, okay, what do we think of in terms of value? And most people still think of shiny things like silver and gold and precious metals and stones. So I'll grab onto that one instead of Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, or even I like asset-backed currencies myself, digital asset coins or whatever. I'm not a big fan of the cryptocurrencies because that is kind of like the credit system. It's just built out of fiat, out of thin air stuff. So I'm kind of a fan of some kind of a asset, like something physical. So that's when I said to myself, well, I'm going to work with that then, this physical asset side. So it's been a fun journey, enjoying every moment, bringing love to everybody that I speak to, and at the same time saying to them, well, don't get carried away with me. You can tell your stories about the value of gold all you want, but in reality, who the hell's putting value on it? A coyote or a hummingbird? It's still a fucking human story. So, don't feed me your bullshit. You can tell other people that story if you want, and I'm going to tell the story that gold has value because that's what people think. But in reality, we're going up into that Rick Jewers zone or Lee Mudway zone and saying, yeah, who the fuck puts the value on the gold anyway? That's us, again, the people.
So with all that you've learned and, figured out kind of, how to maneuver around, there's these royal waters, you said that they, owed you $1.5 million and basically told you to go pound salt. So what does that mean, that, you can learn it, but still can't access it, or there's still more to learn? Like, how does the normal person that doesn't swim in those waters be able to, not be bitten by the shark?
Well, first off, let me say that was in the credit system, okay, where they bit me. And it was the bankers, not the royal family, that bit me. So think about it in terms of the royal families being up here, the bankers and the government being here, or here, trying to squeeze us as much as possible. And I'm not blaming them. Once again, it's the system, right? And then us, the people, down here, or put us up there and put the royal family down there. It doesn't matter. But if we can hold hands with these royal family members, in my mind, that's when we can at least open this thing up, if it's that hourglass kind of a look in my mind where government and banks work together, a system, not the bankers and the governments, because I'm not blaming it on people, because they're just indoctrinated into it. We created this system of banking and this system of government, and we adhered to it, and now we have to deal with it. Okay, so who's going to deal with it? Well, the people up here, the people, and the royal families down here, or the royal families up here and the people down here. So it's people that have to work together. I'm not discounting people who talk in terms of, Palladians or extraterrestrial beings and stuff like that. That's a whole different ballgame. I'm a very logical, simple, people person. And I believe it's all just people. Whatever everybody else chooses, that's up to them. But it's just people. Royal family members are people just like us, who have, for whatever reason, been able to trace their bloodlines back to Jesus Christ, Mary, and Sarah, or Jesus Christ's brother Andrew. Jesus had 4 brothers from Joseph, who was his father, who had a previous marriage, and then he got married, knocked up. That's the simplicity of my story, okay? And if you think that's blasphemous, well, then go back to your church. Like, really? I'm a very natural guy. I was raised on the farm, and I watched how it happens. It's like, and it never happens without God's love, which is the perfection of love. We'll put the stories into it as humans about it being rape, or about it being an unwanted pregnancy, or any of those kind of stories. Those are human stories. Love is the natural sperm hitting that egg, and the spark of life begins. That's love. So everything is love. Everything starts with love. Everything ends with love. Everything is love, and everything's abundant. And those are the 2 words that I continue to just pound.
So are you kind of at an attitude like don't hate the player, hate the game type of attitude?
Don't hate anything. Like, just even love the game. If you hate the game, you're not going to play it. If you love the game, then you'll play it. I'm just of the attitude of staying out of victim, perpetrator, good guy, bad guy mode as much as you possibly can. It's not easy. Don't get me wrong. The temptation is there daily, every moment almost, for most people. Not so much for me, because I just stay out of it. I meditate for hours every day. I do breathing exercises. I spend most of my time on my own, because I love people so much that when I see them, I just want to love them, and that's it. I don't want to hear their stories. I don't want to listen to Trump stories or these stories or anything else anymore. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to love them, and the only way I can love them is to go in and go out and get the hell out of there, because otherwise they're going to start to try and drag me into a story.
I want to latch onto you.
And I mean, I'm unlatchable. Like, it's a couple wives can tell you that, but there was others too, and it's like, I'm very sovereign. Do I want to have someone intimate in my life? Of course, everybody does. But it's pretty hard with this thing going, the way it does. And I don't say that I think, that much different than most people. I don't want to talk about IQ or, my knowledge. I have a lot of wisdom, and I'm going to tell you that. I'm going to say it out loud. I'm proud of it, and I'm happy to say that. I have a lot of wisdom for those that care to listen. That's it.
So what do you think people need to be doing to educate themselves more about this kind of stuff?
Just love more. Love your position. Love whatever you're doing. Don't get drawn into anger or hate, because that's where it falls. That's where we fall. We fall from nature as soon as we get into any kind of angry position. So whatever you're doing, do it better. Just do it with more love, and stay out of the games of victim and perpetrator. That's what I recommend for people. And don't follow me, but if you're interested in the banking industry, discover it on your own. Look into it. Talk to your banker. Go ask them questions. Sit in with your banker. Well, how does this work? Like, do you have the money to back this mortgage? Or because I give you the promise and I put my signature on it, and then I hand you that piece of paper, does that then give you the ability to get money? It's that simple. If they tell you it's, oh yeah, we have depositors, just say, no, you don't. Like, tell me another story. Like, I want to hear some more. Just question things without anger, without hate, but just keep questioning people if you're interested in banking, because that's the simple truth. That you're the creditor by giving them the promise ahead of time. You're not the debtor. It's just like when we give the government our promise ahead of time. We're giving them the credit. And then they tell us we're the debtors of 325 billion in new credit. Well, what do you mean? We're the ones that gave the permission to get that. So tell me another story. I love you, but you're not very smart, Justin Trudeau, because you're not fooling me with that silliness anymore. I love you.
What about, well, they're proposing the food shortages. They're, farmers have having to burn crops. Others, we just talked to somebody that said, they were, telling them, they would give them money to not produce things. Some had to burn their crops. There's obviously, they're wanting to, have this, instability when it comes to people being able to even feed themselves.
We don't need to eat. It's an addiction. Fast. We could all be breatharians. Is that a good enough answer? I mean, it's not a very good answer for the average person, but it is true. But at the same time, think of it in terms of, I think the statistics, and all statistics can be skewed, don't get me wrong, say that about 25 to 35% of the food that is produced, even in conventional, no matter what kind of agriculture, actually gets consumed. The rest of it is thrown away at one stage or another in the chain, right? So do we need as much food as we have out there? No. Do we need it ourselves? No. Like I said, we can fast, or we can be breatharians, or we can just eat very little and still function. Like it's amazing how we've gotten into the idea that food is a necessity. It's a pleasure. It's like any other addiction. It's like a cigarette or a bottle of booze or a toke joint. It's an addiction.
I've done quite a bit of fasting throughout my life. And, I just maybe 4 months ago, I did a 7-day master cleanse where I just did the water, maple syrup, lemon juice, and cayenne pepper. Before that, I did a 3-day water fast. I've done this master cleanse maybe 7-8 times over the last, 20, 30 years. We know that the person can go 40 days without food and 4 days without water. These are some things that are, abilities that we do have on this thing. So do you think that this whole thing that's going on is for people to wake up to, some of the stuff, the waste of food, the need for things that we don't really need? Do you think that this is all, kind of divinely kind of coming into fruition because of, the kind of wasted life that we're living?
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's a plan, but I think what you said otherwise is bang on, Jesse, that it is giving us the opportunity to become even more aware. Like 40 days is not the truth. I know breatharians, and I've talked to them and visited with them, that live for years with nothing, just breathe. That's it. And they're sinewy, like muscly people. Like they function like that, So there's one to add to your story of 40 days or 4 days without water, whatever, or to dry fast for 40 days or 4 days. 4 days is nothing. You can be a breatharian. You can live with nothing. So, it's just exercising our capability to learn more, like you said. And the beauty of fasting, and you probably saw this and experienced it, Jesse, if you did that length of time, is that your thinking becomes so clear, your senses become so clear. You eat something after you've fasted for 3 or 4 days, oh my God, like it just tastes so good, like all your senses just are driven up. And senses think in terms of your brain, which is a sensitive computer. And that brain isn't busy working on digestion and all other things that happen when you're eating. And it's it's kind of bored, so it wants something to do, and then just allow it to be creative, instead of diving into a TV show or watching movies or whatever. Just go for a walk in nature and just allow your brain to just be creative on its own. And holy cow, the things that come in. And that's when you speak to God, but there's no external God. You're collecting your own information and your own experience and sorting out the wheat from the chaff, the good stuff from the anger and the hate and the fear and all that stuff, and just bringing in the love. And man alive, call it downloads, call it, what is some other language people use, Jesse? Channeling, that kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of times when I do my video channel, I just start talking. I don't plan anything. I just, I'll run across a landmark or something, and I think about something, and then I just turn on my video camera and start talking. And I look at it afterwards and I think, where the hell did that come from? But it's just from being in that calm state of love and not angry and not falling into that victim perpetrator mode, which we've been so bloody tempted to go to all of our lives, whether it be war, so-called war. It's just economic demolition and reconstruction is all it's been since World War II. And war has always been about either stealing somebody's assets or moving a border of some fake country. It's just ridiculous.
Seems it's always been about God, gold, oil, and drugs. And, for the last 50 or, plus years, that's what all these, conflicts have been. And when you were talking about, the breatharian and, being able to just live, I know that there's some documented evidence of people that getting their nutrients from the sun. You can actually sun gaze, and people that look at the sun for the first half an hour and the last half an hour, you're actually nourishing the body with essentials to you be able to live. And people that do that on a regular basis tend to stop eating food more regularly, and they need less and less food into their system because they're actually able to get what the body needs through the sun.
Perfect. And speaking of sun gazing, I'll throw a little logic in there, because when I first learned about that, again, an ever-evolving human, and I'm a living man on the land, and I'm going to continue to evolve and learn. And I learned the hard way that, make sure it's way off in the distance, that sun, not close over your head, because I used to sun gaze a fair bit. I've got challenges with my retina because of it. And I believe the doctor when they told me that. I have to go in and get a little surgery even. But again, we're talking about two things here, okay? The sun, I'll say, farther away, and people say, what do you mean? It's 96 million miles away. And no, it's not. it's farthest away at the horizon, and then it gets closer when it comes right over your head. So that's my truth, and I've learned that the easy way and the hard way through physical experience on my eye. And it's just a vibrating, resonating object of some kind. It's not a ball of fire. It's not anything like that. And the movement that comes off of it, that resonating, vibrating matter, okay, is hitting up against things, right? And that causes friction. So then thus heat. I'm simplifying things here again for people, because we started on the sun thing, but people will talk about free energy. Well, like I do, that we've got the Bow Center downtown Calgary, right? And the new what's the other one called, where Scotiabank is? It's all glass around the outside.
The Eaton Center or the Scotia Center?
Yeah, Scotia Center. But there's a company that has it. I can't think of their name right now. And then the TELUS, of course, the new building there is mostly glass. And then run right across from the courthouse, which again is mostly glass or silicon. These structures are all over the world, and they are collecting energy based on that vibrating matter in the ether, in the air, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of it is generated from the original source of that resonance and vibration, which is our sun. So I'm not talking about solar energy. There's a friend of mine, and he eventually, like, he's gone now, he went into the military side of things because I think they knew that he was ready to tell too much truth about energy, and he had this solar liquid power, he called it. So basically painting things with this, like paint a car that's an electric car, it'll continue to collect that energy and put it into the battery, so you never ever have to plug it in or anything, you know, like it's just that simple. And with these silicon towers, it's bouncing off those silicon towers, and they're collecting it, putting it back out into the grid, and telling us stories about how we need coal or we need a dam to bring power into the city, whatever. Like, it's vibrating energy, even in a light bulb. Like, why do we have an in and out plug in our plug-in? Because it comes in and it goes out. And when it comes into the device that we're using, it's vibrating and resonating. It's actually generating power. So it puts out more. Energy is all free.
So it's a big scam.
All of it. Keep the slaves busy. Just keep them busy doing things. You know, oil and gas. Really? Like, really? We need oil and gas? There's so much technology that we can be using, and it's just like, really? But we've done that to ourselves. Again, it's not some bad guys that are doing it. It's like we've created so much infrastructure that the capitalists, you think we're going to just stop that and take away the homes of the people that are, you know, the head of some oil company and stuff like that because they were bad? No, we can't take anything away from people. We helped create it. We still drive around in cars and do our thing, you know, like, it's just, we cater to it. We have to change ourselves and change ourselves from within, be happy and loving, and then you're going to open up to these many truths that I've spewed out in this little hour, because I better get going pretty quick, and I think it's probably an hour by now.
Yeah, we've gone over an hour. Anything else you wanted to share with the people? I know there was some, Renee was asking for links, please, where we can follow Randall.
Like, I have a YouTube channel, Randall Kaiser on YouTube, and it'll piss you off, but go ahead and watch it if you want. And then I am on Facebook, but I don't take, you know, new people. If you want to follow what I say and stuff like that, I'm on Facebook, Randy Kaiser on Facebook. And that's about it. Otherwise, I just do my work. Like, I'm constantly, it's like I wake up in the morning and my phone is full of messages starting from Hong Kong this way, and we won't stop. And we are here to bring comfort to every single human being and projects that are beneficial to all. That's what we're here for. And we won't stop, because otherwise it's just a bunch of bullshit, because there is abundance and there's no reason that every human isn't
Entitled.
comfort.
Yeah.
Exactly. However you want to put it. To at least their home and their food and their water, clean water, at the very least. Maybe a car. I don't know. Like, people have to decide from there, but at very least your home and your water and your food, just like a coyote or a hummingbird, like I said earlier. Do they pay for anything? No. Neither should these mammals. Like, come on. So simple.
Do you think that that's going to happen in the next 3, 6 months, year, 2 years? Like, what do you see as an overall forecast of what is to come?
Right now, like, that's where I love Rick and Lee Mudway talking from that GPMS, because it could happen any moment, you know. It's just, if everyone listened, and I'm not trying to get followers or anything to what I said about money, it could happen not one moment from now. We would just all say to the government at the same time, stop this, come on. There's abundance, just give us each our comfort income. Don't tell us stories about debt anymore. Don't do that, okay? Like, just don't. I love you. Just don't do that to us anymore. And then also at the same time as you say that to these administrators, I'll call them rather than government, if all the people said that to them, then said to the banks, okay, we know there's abundance there too, and you're suppressing, it. So just release it. And we all said at the same time, just release the funds that are unlimited. I'm going to start a project that's beneficial to all. It's got nothing to do with chemicals and alteration of genetic modification or anything like that. It's got nothing to do with weapons. So please just release, the funds. Here's my project. You don't have to look at the project. You know that it's good. You can trust me. Look me in the eye and let's go. So
Yeah.
Future, past, we live in 0 point time. And that's where, God's law comes into it and meditation comes into it, because then you start thinking that way, loving everything, and your life will just become miracles, Like I really want for nothing. Like do I want to live in a little bit nicer place? Well, sure, and I know that'll come, but am I comfortable here? Yeah, I sleep and I eat here and I'm have a nice shower. So it's all good, And will I travel and manage the flow of funds because I am a banker? Am I going to be the guy who receives the message and then shares? Fucking rights I am. I already am. And I've already shared with people. It's just the way it is. But, do I want to keep it? Do I want to hold it? Do I want to own it? What the fuck for? All I need is another fucking hat and a new shirt and another pair of jeans and away I go. And traveling, that's what I've been held back from, and that bothers me, but it's okay. It'll come.
Do you think that that's going to open up soon? Is, people be able to freely be able to move again? Because right now they're doing everything they can to restrict that.
Yeah. And I mean, that's where, I'll say to people, don't follow me. Do whatever it is you're doing to the best of your ability. If you are challenging Biden or Trudeau at that legal jurisdiction level to open up the travel, or to stop, the ridiculousness of diapers on children's faces or whatever, do it even better, but do it with love and do it by, not hating anybody, not hating the politicians. Do it with love. Do it with going in there and getting in the system. Maybe running for mayor like I did. I don't know, whatever. Just get into the guts of it with integrity and with love.
Linda wants to know, and she's actually met you, Linda Winger, here from Calgary. She's a good friend of ours. She's asking if you've ever received any income from a bank.
I have, yes, and very little, but it's there. And like I said, they owed me and walked away from it. So it's very little yet, Linda. But I'm, I know Linda quite well. And I'll just leave it at that. I love you, Linda.
That's awesome. So what's next for you? Like, what are you up to? What's your plans for the next, day, month, year?
Well, I function with these royal family members constantly, every day. Like Charles, and yeah, they'll, people get into, I'm sorry now, get into stories about the royal families and stuff like that. My goodness. I mean, that's a perfect example of how government and media, both alternative and mainstream, will try to keep the people apart. The people being the people in the royal families and the people in the masses. And like Charles is in Canada for 3 days, and we're trying to line up a telephone conversation. If we can, we can. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but I speak with people directly to him, like directly. And the people that I deal with are at the same level as him or higher, because the British royal family really doesn't have as big of a asset, if you want to call it that, left as some of the other crowns in the world. And that's other information that nobody wants to hear and nobody wants to know, and wants to say, well, then they are the bad guys. Well, no, they're trying to bring it through to you. And I'm part of that, trying to bring it through to you. So it's That's what I do.
What's your take on Trump walking in front of the Queen and, when that's not supposed to happen and that was supposedly some sign of her not having any more power? Do you see that as valid?
I see it as a cocksure, egotistical liar. That's what Trump is to me. I mean, he's never going to tell anybody the truth about how he got his credit. Okay? It's all credit. Pretend that he went into bankruptcy and then hide his books and everything. God, that man knows so much. He may not know as much as I do about the inside of banking, but he knows the credit system like the back of his hand. He's way wealthier than the corporation he represents, called the United States Corporation. The man is just a complete, utter, storyteller, and he's not telling the truth. So it's like, is he going to walk in front of the Queen and pretend he's the king of the world? Of course. He did that all over the place with South Korea and all the other places. It's just a big game. But with those countries and those nations and those national leaders, they all work together. Every single last one of them, whether it's Biden or Trump or Biden and Trump, they're all on the same team. But royal families, that's a different story. And he wanted to be a cocksure egotist when he walked in front of her. That's it. She's nothing but a lovely old grandma that's trying to show the world some way to live a decent life. Okay? Everybody's going to come down on Andrew and say he's a pedophile and everything. They took one picture of him with his arm around a young lady who he settled out of court with now lately. What about Trump? My God. Everybody let him off the hook for hanging around with Epstein and those characters and everything else. Like, man, it's just, and I'm not calling Trump bad. He's the good guy in the good guy, bad guy story. Linda, he's the good guy in the good guy, bad guy story. That's what Trump is. And if you want to believe in him, go for it. But it's just stupid. It's just silliness. That whole government institution, that whole government level, it's the middle of the system, the government and the banks. And I don't care what government it is. It's all my theory.
Are you aware of when the Queen and Philip was in Kamloops and they left with a bunch of Native children and a bunch didn't come back? And there's actually accounts of, there's supposedly there's a lot more to them than just, crown figureheads when it comes to some pretty horrible deeds.
I've heard all the stories, and it's all stories. That's all I can say. I'm not going to judge it one way or another. I'm not going to put myself in that situation. And it's the same thing with Trump. I'm not going to call him a bad guy. He's a good guy. Okay? That's what he is. But he's still a good guy in a good guy, bad guy story. Lift yourself out of that. Just go into love. Just go into the one singular story of love. And then all of those stories just fall away.
And so you love Trump?
I love Trump, of course. Even though he's a liar. Or he's not lying, he's just not telling the truth. So I shouldn't call him a liar. He's just not telling the truth. If he told the rest of the truth, then I'd really love him. Come on, Donald. Even at least tell us a story about the new republic. Like once. Come on. Oh, go on Joe Rogan. Like, come on, Trump. Go on Joe Rogan's show or one of those other characters that are supposedly the new truth tellers on the alternative media. Why doesn't he do that? Goes and talks to Piers Morgan, or what the hell was that dipshit's name from the UK?
Piers Morgan.
Called him a liar at the beginning of the show, and then got on there and bragged about he was the guy. I saved tens of millions of lives by getting that thing in your arm in 9 months. Like, fuck, listen to what he's saying. And then the cutie pies will say, oh, he's talking in code. Whatever. Seriously. But I love him.
Well, that's good. You definitely see that, you definitely exude a lot of love that comes out of you. And you got that big, beautiful smile that, kind of shows that you got a lot of love in that heart.
Always, brother. I mean, like I said, sympathy, not very much. Love oozing. I love everybody. And it's like, if you can handle me, I'll love you. If you can't, just get lost. Like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I got 120 views last week and I'll get 110 this week because I let fly on Jesse's show now. I don't care. I think in terms of everyone and everything every day. And I'll end it there with peace, harmony, love, abundance, and freedom for everyone and everything every day on my mind. Abundance, already, health, love, and euphoria. Go have some fun.
So you're enjoying the ride?
I am, every moment,
You feel
especially the last 3 or 4 months. You know, since I got as close to the royal family members as I've gotten, I just see so much beauty happening and so much freedom happening for mankind. So much, you know, leaving that whole government story behind. It's just, I just see it happening so beautifully.
so the government is the satanic beast. Do you feel that it's, you know, coming down, it's being dismantled, that humanity is soon to be freed?
Yes, it's exposing itself. It's the apocalypse, the great revealing. That's what's happening. They are perfectly acting out how moronic every aspect of government is. And I'm talking Putin as well now, okay? Zelensky and Putin, I mean, what a kind of a shit show is that? My God. Is it helping the monetary system? Yes, and the freedom of allowing, you know, currencies to function beyond the USD and that stupid fiat credit system or the petrodollar, one way or the other. There's two ways to look at how the USD has been functioning. But has he helped that? Yeah. But is he doing that on purpose? No. He just wants to be a king in fucking Russia. It's like Trump wants to be a king in America. Like, so they're no different, you know. But do I love them both? Yes. Because they're exposing it more. They're showing how ridiculous it is. And if you want to stay stuck in there and cheer them on, go ahead. That's up to you. I love you anyway. But I don't. Like, just go past them. Rise up out of that bullshit government story, all of it.
Is that what ascension is then? You know, ascending to the 5D that people talk about, getting out of that 3D matrix slave mentality and rising above and becoming that sovereign, beautiful soul that we're all meant to be here?
Could be. I mean, everybody chooses their language, right? And that's what I love about people, is they're so creative and so individually sparked by the divine. You know, like you said, gold, oil, and drugs. Like, holy shit, I never thought of that before. But that was the God that got into the minds of many people. The God to me is nothing but divinity and beauty and love and, you know, that kind of stuff. It's so, again, you know, like, I got friends that they consider themselves extraterrestrial. Good. We're not going to argue about the shape of the planet or anything. I know it's this way. You know it's that way. That's fine. Doesn't matter. I love you.
And you're both right, because whatever you perceive it to be is what it is. And you create your own universe. You create your own destiny. And so you're right and they're right. Doesn't matter what shape it is, as long as you believe, you know, you have that, you know, sovereign right to. Yeah. Okay, well, awesome, brother. Thank you so much for sharing this time here with us. You know, you're definitely a very unique individual. I'm definitely really happy that we brought you here on The Missing Link. The LINK acronym is Love Inspiring New Knowledge. And, you know, you definitely brought that here for us today. Wow.
Well, thank you. And I mean, I don't think of it as wow. I just think of it as who I am. And I mean, accept it or reject it. It's up to you. Like, it's nothing to do with me. I'm just me.
You've been in a world where, you know, a majority of people look to fit in. Anyone that's, you know, externally creating their own destiny is a wow, because, you know, we need that more and more and more. And we're seeing that more and more, but there's still a lot of people that still live in that box. And, you know, and it's just people like you and everybody else is that, you know, living by example, you know, that are going to help people get out of that, you know, square or that, you know, prison. whichever one you want to call it, is, you know, is it takes is just people that are not afraid.
Yep. Beautiful.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks everybody for being a part of another missing link. This is our second missing link of 4 that we have today. You know, we are on for about 8 hours. We were on for 5 hours yesterday. We're just trying to bring as much information to anybody that's willing to listen as possible. And, you know, you might resonate with what Randall says, you know, you may not. It might not be your cup of tea, but not everybody is supposed to be your cup of tea. And that's what individuality is. And everybody has that sovereign right to be individual in their journey while we're on here. Just don't, you know, judge because you don't want to be judged yourself. So just live free and, you know, be the best that you can be. And, you know, that's all you can do while we're trying to figure out this wild earthly mystery. So we have 2 more missing links today. We've got at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's in about 24 minutes. We got Gypsy Jade. And then we've got Cindy Niles, who's going to talk about communitarianism. So thanks everybody for all your likes, hearts, comments, shares, and stars. We appreciate you. And you know, the missing link is, you know, what it is because we've got so many of you beautiful souls out there. So thanks again. And any last words, Randall?
I am. I'm going to do this because I like this. I repeat this every day now and at the end of my shows. I am the abundant, healthy, sovereign, loving, harmonious, imaginative man, co-creating abundance, sovereignty, health, love, and euphoria for all as the receiver and the one who shares the abundant energy, frequency, radiance, vibration, currency, money, love, and word of God with the precious treasures of Mother Nature through the medium of exchange, which is the banking system, with the bankers, the keepers of humanity's wealth, and the administrators, to we the people for our comfort and projects that are beneficial to all.
Beautiful. I am that. I am.
Cheers.
Okay, bye everyone. We'll see you again in about 23 minutes if you come to the next missing link. Bye, Randall.
See ya.